Welcome to the Steering Change Podcast, navigating through the commercial transportation industry in Alberta and beyond, powered by the Alberta Motor Transport Association. Here's your host, Kelsey Hipkin.
Greeting listeners of Steering Change. I am today's host, Kelsey Hipkin. We are here today talking about one of our favorite topics as an association, and that is safety. To do that, we've brought in two very special guests, Christine Groulx, Health and Safety Manager of Four Seasons Transportation, and Dale Howard, Manager Regional Safety for Canada with Flying J Canada Transport. Between the two of them, Dale and Christine know a thing or two about safety in commercial transportation, so much so that each are past winners of AMTA's Safety Person of the Year Award, Christine in 2022, and Dale just last year for 2024. And sitting here beside me, we have today's co-host, AMTA Senior Instructor, Driver Development, and voice of the association, Robert Destree. Christine, Dale, Rob, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
To start, let's do a quick get to know you. We'll start with you, Mr. Howard. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I retired out of a lengthy law enforcement career that finished off with commercial enforcement my last 8 years, and went into the private sector, migrated over to the AMTA for a few years, and was recruited away by Mark Taylor from Flying J.
And just for our friends out there, Mark is the one who nominated Dale for his Safety Person of the Award. You're going to hear me plug this a lot of times, but we all know there are some fantastic people in industry in safety and beyond. So if you do know someone similar, we do encourage you to nominate them for this year. Now, moving on to Christine. Christine, Four Seasons Transport. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I've been involved in the school bus transportation industry since 1994. I started off as a school bus driver, which eventually led me to Four Seasons, and took on the driver first, then supervisor, and worked my way up to being the health and safety manager at Four Seasons. Yeah.
So thank you so much, both of you, for being here. And last but not least, Mr. Destree, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so senior instructor here at AMTA. I'm actually coming up on my 6-year anniversary with the association. Prior to that, oil and gas for 3 different companies, developed some driver training programs there, and have been a licensed instructor in this province since June of 1990.
And an official producer of the Steering Change podcast with both Rob and Robin.
Video editor, videographer, director, narrator, scriptwriter, drone flyer, simulator runner.
Okay, my friends, let's get into it. We'll start with you, Christine. Can you chat about some of the most important aspects of your day-to-day with busing at Four Seasons?
The most important thing for the day-to-day is being out in the field, being available to our drivers and our teams to mentor and support them in whatever they encounter, whether it's a medical emergency on board, if it's a collision that they encounter. So just being readily available and knowledgeable enough to give them insight into regulatory, aspects of their jobs and so on and so forth. So it's being hands-on.
And Four Seasons is a little different as well, as in you're working with youth. So can you kind of touch on what exactly Four Seasons does and then how safety comes into that?
Yeah, for sure. Four Seasons transports students with special needs across the Calgary and surrounding area. Our role in safety is a lot of times we'll have LPNs, which are nurses on board. Some of the kids are medically fragile, so they need assistance in that way. And part of the training as well, and the mentorship and support is on a day-to-day basis, hands-on exactly when things come up and how to resolve them. So it's just being available to them and mentoring and supporting. Really.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christine.
Yeah.
Dale, Flying J, as most of our listeners will know, is a huge fleet and one of the more recognizable fuel stops on our highway systems. What are some of the keys to safety with your organization?
So the beauty with Pilot Flying J is I lead a very sheltered life as far as safety goes. We have buy-in right from the top. Our CEO has made the statement that we will not stop hauling our own fuel unless we can't do it safely. Our CEO has actually called people out for walking up and down the stairs without using the handrail. My job is fairly easy when you've got buy-in at that level. We tend to take, just like Christine, a hands-on approach to safety. We do driver observations. our driver appreciation is held daily, not yearly. So when you engage your employees and you have that relationship, it's and availability, safety is a pretty easy job over here.
Mhm.
Awesome. Love to hear that.
Hmm.
Now, hopefully, most of our listeners know AMTA's annual conference takes place April 8th to 10th at the River Cree Casino in Enoch near Edmonton. A big part of that event is our annual awards celebration. Dale, can you tell us a bit about how you came to know you were last year's Safety Person of the Year and how the celebration night was for you?
Clifford actually broke the news to me that I was our winner, and it was very humbling. There's a lot of great safety people in transportation, and very thankful that Pilot Flying J has recognized my contribution to the organization and what I bring to the table. Uh, it was just an awesome event. The like I say, very, very humbling. I was really at a loss for words.
Well, you crushed it. Yeah, nice speech up on stage.
Perfect.
And now, with you, Christine, your experience was a little bit different as you were named safety person during a COVID year when we didn't have an in-person event. We were able to celebrate Christine at Four Seasons when able. And then luckily, she was able to join us at the celebration last year. Can you tell us a bit about your experience?
Well, it was amazing, to be honest with you. It's just a privilege and an honor to be even considered for such a prestigious award. And to be the recipient was very humbling, and company as well. I mean, just the feedback from being recognized from peers and so on and so forth was really huge. Our company is committed as well to safety, and we use it every day, not just at work, but at play, at home. It's really important in every aspect of our jobs, and takes a lot of dedication and hard work and a solid commitment from everyone. A willingness to participate and be responsible is critical. So
It's funny, I see humility as a trend in a lot of safety people that I come across, but knowing you two as I do, just it's earned. So props to you guys for all that you do for industry and beyond.
Thank you.
thank you.
Now, this is a question for you both. I'm going to start with yourself, Mr. Howard, and then you, Christine. Why is the role of safety so important, both to commercial transportation or anything?
At the end of the day, it's important to all our staff come home in the same condition they went to work in. Everybody goes home 10 fingers, 10 toes, no holes.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to the public who we share the highways with, that we operate safely and in compliance. And if you have a robust safety program in place and great people doing the job, your record stands for itself. We've gone over 2 years without a lost time accident.
And then I'm just going to, speaking of the great people, I will say that Flying J was also the recipient of Driver of the Year last year. Dale used to sit, you still sit on the committee?
I do not.
Dale used to sit on our Driver of the Month committee. So Dale, can you just quickly break down how the Driver of the Year is selected?
Sure. For everybody listening to this, we all have great drivers. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
Here is the shameless plug for the Driver of the Month program. Let's all overwhelm Helen by submitting Drivers of the Month. When you do that, you're recognizing the quality people that you've got in your organization, and it just means the world to them. They don't have to win the award. Just the fact that you have believed in them enough to nominate them is, you just can't buy that kind of PR. And we've all got great people. Recognize them. So once you're selected, or once you're entered into that pool, all the recipients go back into the pool, and you're selected out of that for Driver of the Year. The Driver of the Year is quite an honor, and you guys just do an amazing job at the AGM on the presentation. Graham Nakala, the 2024 winner, was just completely blown away with the whole process. Volvo does an amazing job producing a video and doing their recognition. The AMTA is outstanding with their recognition of the Driver of the Year, and just reinforces all the great people that we've got on the road. Turn on the news, and we are not shown in the greatest light.
Mm.
So we need to recognize and highlight the people that go above and beyond and do a great job for us.
And has Graham come down off his cloud yet?
He has not, and we are still trying to shoo away the people that are trying to poach him and myself, because we're pretty happy here.
That's I was lucky enough. My commute takes me from southern Alberta into Calgary, so I go through Nanton. And I was driving past a Flying J one day, and sure enough, there was Graham sitting up in the cab, and I could say, "Hey, that's the Driver of the Year." It was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
Now, Dale has mentioned both Cliff and Helen. Just for our listeners out there, they are both on our amazing member services team. Helen can help you out with anything onboarding, and Cliff just really knows anything there is to do with the truck and is a fantastic forklift driver.
That is true.
Now, Christine, I am going to just rephrase because I strayed off the path there a little bit. Can you tell us about why the role of safety is so important with both commercial transportation and beyond?
Well, it's really important for the safety. Our cargo is precious. We transport kids with special needs, and it takes a lot of training and dedication from the individuals and our drivers, and we have an excellent record as well. I'm very proud of our team for embracing safety first, making sure that everyone gets home safely, including, when we go to the schools, we have to make sure that we do safety audits to make sure that where we're going, picking up the students at the sites is safe to do so. And if not, it's a collaborative approach between the school boards, the parents, and the families and Four Seasons to make sure that we choose the right path for them, just to make sure we all make it home safely. It's so important.
Okay, so you've both told us about some of the kind of important aspects of the day-to-day with your respective companies. Let's delve a little bit deeper. We'll start with you, Christine. You've been talking about the importance of workplace culture and training. Can you just delve into that a little bit?
Yeah, it's so important. Specifically for us, we transport kids with special needs. A lot of them have medical conditions, emotional age. What is it called?
ADHD.
ADHD, yeah, and just the training involved and the hours that everyone puts in, the dedication that they have, and the culture that our CEO has created. Rewarding people for good work. We all work long hours, but we're all in it for the same reason, to get the kids to school so that they have a normal life as much as possible. And that's the biggest thing, and how to create a culture where employees, drivers, recognize that it's just not about being focused on the road. It's about what's happening behind you, and how to keep everyone safe, including the general public, right? Those are the things that we try to instill. Those are the things that we try to promote and create a willingness and a wanting to do good. And that's part of safety, right?
Absolutely. And much with industry in general, how is finding drivers for you guys?
It's very challenging. We consider it almost like a revolving door, only because it's a part-time employment. And it's a split shift. So a lot of times what happens is we'll get retirees who want to do something rather than, and want to contribute and be a part of this community. It affects, it could be your child, it could be your grandchild who has these conditions that can't be involved in a regular daily school, environment. They need specialized treatment and care. So, yeah, it's very challenging. but we are so appreciative of them because without them, we couldn't do our jobs. And to have the support that we have from our employer and the culture that we've embraced together as a team, it's kind of like a family, and there's so much love. So it's amazing. It's really amazing.
I think that's huge. And we'll do a shout out to all the bus drivers out there.
Yeah.
Now, Dale, same question. I know it was a bit loaded. So we led with training and culture in the workplace, and then into how the driver shortage might be affecting you.
Well, if I can just tag on to what Christine had to say, throughout my law enforcement career, I was involved with the Special Olympics,
Right.
and the kids are, once you've been involved in this, it just, you leave a piece of your heart.
You too.
So I, my hat is off to all your drivers, because the relationships they build with your clients is just
It's
tremendous.
heartwarming.
Oh, it is.
It is.
So, I just, I can't thank your drivers enough for everything that they do for these kids, because these are just amazing, amazing kids. And
Yeah.
again, if you've never done anything for the
Yeah.
Special Olympics, boy,
Yeah. It's eye opening, isn't it?
it really is.
Yeah.
And if you need a good cry,
Yeah.
Special Olympics is for you.
I do that too. So
and
thank you,
having-
Dale, for that. I appreciate those words.
And having worked with Dale for a while, he doesn't cry easily, but he cries over his animals, and he cries over children that he has worked with, and it's
Yeah,
touching. It's touching.
It is.
Yep.
Amazing. Thank you.
So, driver retention and driver recruiting. Again, we lead a very sheltered life here at Pilot Flying J. When you appreciate drivers, and when you have that culture of you're not a man, you're not a number, you really do matter. Like I say, we do driver appreciation every day, as opposed to 1 week a year. We just don't have a big turnover rate. You either leave here in a retirement role.
Right.
We've got a number of drivers that have been with us since we started the operation here in Canada. And it's either retirement, or sadly, if you're not on the program, then we may have to find a different opportunity for you. But we've got a lineup to come and work for us. So it's a nice position to be in. We offer a great safety program, great benefits from day one. We've got assigned equipment, which is unheard of in the fuel industry. Get your own truck, your own set of trailers. We deliver our own product to our own stores. So our drivers are in a very unique position. There is no gray area here at Pilot Flying J. It either is or it isn't. We've been a big adopter of safety initiatives right from day one. We jumped on the ELD as soon as it was available, because it makes our drivers' lives a lot easier. We've had driver outward and inward facing cameras since their inception. And actually not a lot of pushback. It's all in how you sell what you're going to do. We use any information that we get as a training opportunity, as opposed to getting out the big stick.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it a lot easier for the drivers. Lots of rewards, and great opportunity.
I just want to touch on that for a second, because one hot button topic that we hear a lot of is the inward and outward facing cameras.
Yeah.
Right. Outward facing cameras can quite easily absolve your drivers in incidents where other people are trying to, say, grift, right, and try to earn money that they're not entitled to. In terms of inward facing cameras, there's this concept that drivers are always being monitored by Big Brother, and that they're always being watched. And, can you allay some of their fears about that?
Absolutely. So in our program, the only people that this information is available to is the safety department. Dispatch has no access to it.
Other drivers?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's manager and above. And honest, I wish I had that kind of free time in my day to watch you do whatever you're doing as you go down the road. I don't. So the only time we review video is if an event is triggered or you receive a complaint. So as long as you use the technology appropriately, and we've had a number of occasions where the inward facing camera has absolved the driver of any wrongdoing. We've been able to show up in court and introduce this as evidence and show the judge that the driver has, you can see in the video, he has turned his head and he has checked his mirrors. And you can see as he's going down the road for the last 5 minutes, because you always need to go armed with lots of video, that the driver is maintaining a proper following distance.
Yeah.
He is always scanning, always paying attention, and the camera will either be your executioner or your messiah. If you're doing everything right, it's the messiah. If you're not, well, you kind of let the chips fall where they may. But it's all on how you introduce the program.
Right.
I've seen carriers that were putting in driver-facing cameras because the insurance company told us we had to, and suck it up. That's
Yeah.
just not the buy-in you want, and it just turns into us and them.
Let's stick with technology for a minute. Actually, we'll cover all the bases today. I say this with all the love, but you two have been in industry longer than the average bear. Can you talk about kind of the progression of technology? Christine, you from the busing perspective, and then Dale from the trucking perspective.
Yeah. We currently have cameras in most of our buses as well, inward facing, in the back as well. So it is something that we found is starting to be a requirement, but the buy-in has been very good. And again, as Dale said, only people reviewing it is safety, obviously. And if there's an incident that triggers it, we'll review the cameras and so on and so forth, the video footage. It's been great. I think it's important, to be honest with you, because there is at times where it's necessary. And it's important also in monitoring your drivers to make sure that they are following safe work practices, company policies, regulatory, demands that we all have. So it's so important. And I think it opens the door for more. We also have audio on some of ours as well, and that's important too. We have some privacy issues with confidentiality that we cannot direct the cameras towards any of our students. So basically, like Dale, we use it as a secondary way to determine exactly what happened in certain instances, and I think that's very important. It's valuable.
And the buses themselves, I think you said 1994. How have the buses themselves changed in that time?
They've changed quite a bit. All our buses have seatbelts on them. Not all of the 72 passenger units do. We operate in the smaller buses, the 24 passenger with the driver as well. And there are seatbelts in there. Most of our buses are equipped with specialized equipment for wheelchair students. We have quite a lot of our students are in wheelchairs, and they require special equipment, especially in a hard break or a collision. So they've just become better and better and better. There's different opportunities to save on fuel, so on and so forth. Better equipment in the bus. Some of them have TV monitors where the kids can watch videos. They have good radio sound systems as well, and they're very. It's like a tank, to be honest with you. It's so well designed to keep the students safe. So in that case, I find we're very lucky. So yeah, I've seen a good progression.
Did you start out back in the days when you had van conversions and whatnot, where the back doors, you had the ramp that came in and you only had a couple passengers?
Yeah, I still operate. That's what I drive.
Yeah.
I drive a wheelchair. In the event there's something that goes down, there's a bus that's downed or mechanical failure, I'll get called out, especially if there's a wheelchair student on board, and I can take them to school or home, whichever the case may
Right.
be. But I found that a few times we've had some situations, emergencies on Deerfoot Trail, and collaborating and calling 911 and getting EMS there or getting the Calgary Police there. They've been so supportive, because trying to take 5 kids out of a wheelchair in their wheelchairs on Deerfoot Trail can be a challenging experience for those that are.
I think
Yeah.
you're underplaying the challenging experience.
I
side
am
of it.
underplaying it, but
Yeah.
I'm saying, it's just the support that we get, because our cargo is so precious.
Right.
And even regular day civilians that see a bus pulled over with their hazard lights on, there's an emergency going on, people are there to support and help.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I really am encouraged by all of that, and I just embrace it. And I believe in kindness. I believe in sharing experiences and relationships with people, and just being down to earth. And safety is something that we can all embrace.
Absolutely.
We can all embrace it
Agreed.
in our work, in our play, or whatever we do. It should be something that we care about one another. We want to make sure that we're here for tomorrow. So I think that's the important thing at the end of the day.
You're a quote genius, Christine. We'll be pulling a bunch of those. Dale, can you tell us a bit about technology in terms of OEMs, big rigs, how it's come in your time?
Sure. Well, you've been lucky enough to select one of the dinosaurs in the industry, because
I think he had wooden wheels on his first truck.
I got my license back in 1978, and
There you go.
I drove
Still in grade school.
First time.
Wow.
First,
I wasn't even born. No, just kidding.
I wasn't. I'll put that out there.
yeah, no, I drove full time and part time throughout my law enforcement career, which gave me an unfair advantage on hours of service charges. But story for another day. But yeah, gosh, when I started in '78, I remember when only real truck drivers drove 2 sticks.
You had to reach through the steering wheel with your one arm while
Exactly. So then we evolved to we became civilized and evolved to 13 speeds. But as far as communications went, you had a pocket full of quarters, and you were searching out payphones.
Yeah.
And it was funny. At night, the only communication you had was the AM talk shows, where dispatch or your family could call in, and they would announce on the radio, "Hey, Dale Howard, if you're listening, you need to call home."
Wow.
So then we evolved into pagers, and then that turned into satellite communication, and then that turned into
cell phones.
Cell
these
phones.
hateful devices
Yeah.
that we now find ourselves unable to
Attached to.
get
Yeah.
out of our hands. And that poses another huge problem for our industry.
It does.
We've got over 2,600 drivers in our fleet throughout North America, and we've managed to get our cell phone violations down to roughly 15 a week.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
it's an ongoing battle,
Yeah.
and the phone is not your friend while you're going up and down the highway.
Yeah.
We all survived without them, and I'm not sure why we have become so intrinsically
Reliant.
attached to
Yeah.
them.
It's
Yeah.
the dopamine.
Yeah,
Part of it's
Yeah.
the dopamine hit, right?
Yeah.
but technology, it's come such a long way, and trucks have evolved. Back in '78, you had a spring ride seat. Air conditioning was rolling down the window.
Yeah.
There was no power steering because you couldn't feel the road. And then, now we go into the truck of today with, there's more functions on the seat and on the steering wheel
Yeah.
than we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And there's some awesome technology that's available as far as collision avoidance. We adopt everything we can buy because our drivers are our most important asset. The P in pilot stands for people, and we really do buy into that. Our collision mitigation has actually saved drivers' lives. We had an accident
Wow.
in Illinois when one of our trucks was slowing down for a construction zone. He was struck from behind by another tractor trailer at highway speed.
Mm.
All the airbags in the truck deployed. He was knocked unconscious, and when you reviewed the video, I thought, this is going to be a fatal. And the truck actually identified an area between two trucks in front of him and steered in between the two trucks.
Wow.
Wow.
And applied brakes too?
And applied the brakes.
Cool.
It threaded the needle,
Wow.
did a lot of damage to both sides of the cab,
Mm-hmm.
but the driver cabin was intact and our driver survived.
Wow.
Wow.
So I get it. A lot of us dinosaurs don't like technology,
No.
but it's,
It can save lives.
it's,
Yeah.
when it's applied correctly, we're worried about you. You're our most valuable asset.
Oh, that's
So
correct.
you have to come home at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And how are we going to feel if there's technology available to save your life and we've made a decision, that costs a lot of money, we're not going to do that. You just can't put a price on people's safety. And as an industry, we have to understand that safety is a journey. It's not a destination.
You want to elaborate on that slightly?
You're never going to be
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never going to not have an incident.
We saw that in oil and gas, right? We would
Yep.
introduce training, we introduced monitoring, we introduced mentoring, and you see your collisions, your MVIs, whatever, drop, and then we'll pat each other on the back. We're doing a great job. Everything's going well, and then they start going
Yeah.
back up, and we wonder why.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's because we took our foot off the gas or brake, whichever
Yeah.
way you want to look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have
For
to
sure.
stay the course.
Yeah.
Stay on the journey.
Yeah.
And focus on the prize.
So I really want to thank both of you for being here. Our AMTA's Awards program especially is a passion of mine. I've been involved as long as I've been at the association. And it's just kind of a little awestruck having some of our 2 safety people of the year in the room. So thank you guys so much. We're going to wind things down a bit. Christine, is there anything else you'd like to add before we head out?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for my everything here at AMTA, the support and recognition that I've received. It's a blessing, and continue doing the great work that you're doing. It's so important out there to bring together the family, the transportation family, and I thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
very kind. And Mr. Howard.
Well, and thank you so much, Kels. Rob, all the amazing work you guys do. The association is just a tremendous resource for everybody listening to this podcast. I just can't stress, get involved. The recognition that's available to everybody, friends of the industry, for example, safety person of the year, driver of the month, I can go on and on. But get involved. We are only as good as our people, and tremendous, tremendous resource. Attend the in-person events. The networking is just off the charts. There's just so much value in these events. The people that you get to bump into, and the problems that you're dealing with are the same problems everybody else is dealing with. But at an event, you get to rub shoulders, bounce ideas, and maybe come up with a solution that you haven't even thought of. So thank you so much to the association for everything they do, and for everybody listening. Time to get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dale. Mr. Destree, anything you'd like to add?
I think Dale's encompassed it quite well. Again, the more involvement you have, the more say you have in what's going on in the daily operations, the easier that your task becomes, because like Dale said, you realize you're not the only person out there with that issue, and someone may have a completely novel approach or a different direction they're coming at it from that might just trigger you. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot more sense than what we've been trying. because we've been banging our head up against the wall and, you're not getting any results. So as Dale said, come out to the events. I would suggest, and Kelsey, correct me if I'm wrong, the numbers for the in-person stuff have been climbing since we've come out of the pandemic.
Yeah, we are seeing it. The nice thing is, for those who don't know, AMTA has started doing a month on, month off, virtual and then in person. It's nice for the virtual because it expands to all of our members. So across Alberta, you can call in. And then we do have the 3. We do Calgary, Edmonton, and Grand Prairie. And yeah, we are seeing some increases in numbers there. And Dale is a regular, Christine is a regular at these meetings. And like Dale mentioned, I witness the networking and the connections that people make.
If I can just jump in with one last point.
Absolutely.
A shameless plug for the compliance and regulatory affairs part of the organization. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
Yeah. So become involved.
Okay, fine. If we're doing shameless plugs, I'm going to do a few more. For the compliance and regulatory affairs that Dale mentioned, we do also have for our full carrier members, it is a member portal. It's the same thing. Let's call it the Facebook of transportation for AMTA. You can talk to other members on there. You can start chats. It's where we're sharing events and where we're sharing important information, road closures, spring bans, all that jazz. So if you are a full carrier member, we do encourage you to check that out. Now I'm going to move to close. I know I've said it a few times, but thank you both so much for being here today. It's really important when we can get the voices of industry out there and telling their stories. So kudos and thank you so much. For our listeners, you will find links to a lot of what we covered today in our show notes, including how to nominate someone for any of AMTA's annual awards. As well as Safety Person, and Dale did touch on a couple of these, we accept nominations for the Historical Award, Supplier Award, Friend to Industry, and Excellence in Member Services. Just a quick note that nominations do close on February 14th. How romantic. For our winners, there is a complimentary awards celebration ticket with a +1, a one-night stay at the River Cree, and a cash prize. Our awards celebration takes place April 9th this year in the thick of our 87th annual conference. Our theme this year is Fueling Progress and Accelerating Change, and we put together a pretty great program for you. Delegate registration is still open, so we are hopeful to see you in a couple months. Do you have any questions or comments about the Steering Change episodes? Reach out on our Instagram at AMTA_CA or LinkedIn and Facebook at Alberta Motor Transport Association. Take care out there and be safe.
Thank you for listening to this episode of AMTA's Steering Change podcast. The views expressed by guests of the Steering Change podcast are their own and may not reflect the views of AMTA, its hosts, or sponsors. Do you have a question that you would like answered on an upcoming episode of the Steering Change podcast? We want to hear from you. To submit a question to the Steering Change mailbag, hit up our DMs on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram with the hashtag Steering Change, and your question will be answered either live on the podcast or by one of our SMEs here at AMTA. We ask that you share this episode with those in your network that could benefit from what we discussed today, and make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you can be notified when future episodes are released. You can learn more about us and our mission by visiting www.amta.ca. Now get out there and have a safe day.